Okay, welcome back everyone. So today we have a really fun little video going through some leadership stuff about a movie that I really like. It's probably one of my favorite films. And so if you haven't seen the movie Gladiator, I'd highly recommend you pause this movie or pause this video and go watch the movie. And watch it however you got to. I don't know where it's streaming right now, but I'm sure you can find it online. Okay, but today we're gonna go over how to lead like a Roman general. Okay, I'm gonna move on here. I'm gonna move my camera so you can read all the words now. There we go. Okay, so number one, positional leadership. So if you've seen this film, and hopefully you have, right? Because you paused in between the scene before here. If you've seen this movie, the opening scene, very, it's not very obvious who is in charge, right? Like obviously Maximus is doing something, but they also show this other character who ends up being Marcus Aurelius, the emperor. It's not obvious like which of these two people is actually in charge, right? And so we see the movie start with Maximus wandering through the battlefield, and he's leading the army. And in the next few scenes, the way he leads this battle, the fact that he rides out in front with his men, it shows us why he rose to such a rank, right? And positional leadership is all about having leadership because of the position you hold. Now, obviously in the army, and particularly in ancient Rome's army and many armies in the past, it's like if you did really well on the battlefield, your position could rise up very quickly, right? And you could easily become a leader. Napoleon was very similar like this. There's obviously a lot of awful people as well. So you could look at Hitler as well, but he kind of did his thing in a very sketchy way. But in modern society, like so many teachers will play this card. It's like positional leadership, positional authority. Like I'm the teacher, you better do what I say. And there's obviously a place and time for that, but positional leadership is actually the lowest form of leadership. It's like because you can just apply to a job and get that leadership. But we'll go through the next few levels here, right? Next thing we have is leadership through permission, right? So Maximus in this film, as we go on and go through the movie, we see why the people themselves want Maximus to lead. They want him to be their general, and they look to him for leadership. And part of that is twofold, right? So we have competency and we have relationship building. So competency relates to the fact that Maximus is actually a very successful soldier, right? We learn in this story that he was actually just a farmer, right? And till the end of the movie, he just wants to return home. And so you got to ask yourself, it's like, well, how did this farmer get to this position? Well, he was very successful. He's a very competent soldier and very competent leader, right? His character, obviously, because Maximus isn't real. So part of it is his success and his competency, right? The other is relationship building. We really see this, especially in his time with the military, that even as you can see in this GIF here, the little scene, that like the soldiers are all looking to him as he walks through, and like he obviously he's general and they should address him, but if they didn't like him, like it's not like you couldn't just stand facing forward and look straight and not make eye contact. Like the soldiers want to look at him. It's almost like they want to be acknowledged by Maximus. And if you watch this movie, it's like obviously they want to be acknowledged by him. Everyone does, right? Because he's awesome. What's really interesting is that he is able to repeat this success not only, and we'll talk more about this later, but he's able to repeat this success in a number of areas of life. Okay, and we'll get into that. Okay, next is leadership through production. This kind of emphasizes his success as well. So the level of production, so you go from position, relationship to production, right? So now that you have the position, maybe you're a teacher, maybe you're a manager, whatever. You also have the permission as well. So you've built enough relationships, you've had enough successes that the people look to you to lead. Next, you have production, right? This is a whole other level. This can sometimes be challenging to get to. Like you want to essentially um, build something with your people, right? You want to be productive, right? And whatever that is. Maybe that's the company's success. Maybe it's getting a project done for school. Maybe it's like figuring out a club or a sports team or a program, whatever it is, right? But you actually want to make something, right? You want to make something happen. And so Maximus, like, he again, mostly just his military success, because obviously the movie's called Gladiator for reasons. It's about military conflict, but he's able to then take this group of ragtag gladiators and be successful with them. Like he produces wins. That's why people love him. The next level is people development, and these two go hand in hand, right? This is once you're productive, right? So let's say you're in a company, maybe you're the owner or the boss or the CEO. It's like, okay, so the company's successful. Excellent. Now that the company's successful, let's start developing some people. And Maximus does a really, really good job of this. And obviously, he's got like the script on his side and the storyline. But he's able to replicate such successes with a ragtag team of gladiator slaves. This is a true testament to his leadership skills. It's like this guy really knows what he's doing. He knows how to build these relationships. He knows how to be successful. He knows how to be productive, right? And then he's also able to develop people because all of these slaves, they're just a random group of people taken from all over the world, right? They have like this Germanian guy, they have an African, obviously Maximus himself is like a Roman citizen, or was, I guess, until he was put into slavery, and then a bunch of other like side characters as well. But he's essentially able to develop these people, make them better than who they were prior to meeting him, right? So he makes the people around him better, and he is loved, admired, and respected for it, right? And you too can achieve this in your own life if you go through these stages of leadership. The last one is the Pinnacle, and so this scene that you're looking at here is right at the end. It's kind of funny because now they're zooming out here about to. So if you look in the little corner to the left, there's another body laying on the floor. It's again, just like the start of the movie. Like it's not obvious, like who was the hero, and well, actually, it's kind of obvious if you watch the movie, but it's like you wouldn't think if you just saw the scene that the guy that they're lifting was the slave, right? I mean, they literally left the emperor or the emperor on the floor, right? And so the Pinnacle is all about like reaching the highest level, at least of the 5 levels of leadership here, but transcending the previous 4 levels. So Maximus reaches the Pinnacle at the same time he dies, but the Pinnacle for him is that he's able to transform Rome and leave it in good hands through his own journey, right? So he first developed himself, right? He goes from being a farmer all the way up to being a general. Then he is able to be successful there as well. So the production and the kind of the permission are very side by side. But he has his success, and he also knows who his men are, his soldiers are. He knows about his people, right? He has a relationship with them. Next, he goes into level 4 with people, with improving the people around him, people development. So all of these people who lift him up have been positively affected by Maximus, and they want to be honored with the task of lifting Maximus up above them and carrying him away for his funeral, right? But all of these people have been transformed, and understand in your personal life, because this is a movie, but in your personal life, like it might take you 10 to 30 years to reach the Pinnacle, but honestly, it's a very worthwhile goal and mission in life to like create something and to improve the people around you and to be a successful leader over the span of 10, 20, 30, 40 years, right? And you know Maximus's destiny was to die, obviously, because it's a script. But fortunately for us, many of us will live. Well, maybe not fortunately, but depending on how you choose to live your life. But if you choose to follow these steps and to live your life, like a Roman general, to lead like a Roman general, when you do reach 60, 70, 80, 90 years old on your deathbed, whatever it is, in those later years of your life, like you will, like Maximus, have all these people who flock to you because you built them up. You've grown them into good leaders, and you've you've transformed them and you've developed them, and you've been productive with them, and so maybe you've been able to provide to these people. It's really well worth it, right? So let's move on here. So how can we be like Maximus? Simply put, use competency to climb up your career ladder and your social circles, right? Like again, competency is key here. Like become the best version of yourself that you can, and use that, right? Because again, if you've watched the video, you'll know, or sorry, watch the movie, you'll know how the emperor rose to emperor position, right? And to do that, work to improve the various areas of your life to the point where you are a capable and resourceful person in them. I'm not saying you need to be the best of the best, but if you have reached kind of the 80% level of competency, it's like you're better off than most people, right? And if you have that 80%, so maybe it's like, okay, like are your social skills tuned up? Do you really know your stuff at work? Have you researched what you need to know? Do you know how to dress well, right? Because that's very important, right? That's marketing. Have you figured out your diet and your exercise? Have you figured out your personal relationships? Have you fixed up and cleaned up your home, right? And all these various things. Like if you get them to the 80% level, you just stand out so much more as you age, right? Because a lot of people just start to go downhill after high school, and you don't want to be that person, right? You want to lead like a Roman general. Okay, next up we have keep your people in mind. So Maximus's goals are his people's goals, right? There's a reason why his character wants to constantly go back home to his farm. It's because that's what his soldiers want, right? That's really why they love and respect him, because he strives for their goals as well, right? So if you help other people reach their goals, they can often help you reach your own goals. Okay. On the flip side, you can create a vision for the team and help your people grow towards their goal and this unified vision. And if you're particularly working on that stage 4 people development section, I mean, they'll kind of just love you for it, right? Because you help them become a better person. You help them live a more fulfilled life, and in doing so, then they can start giving back to you as well, because they're learning and growing in their own areas, right? And so maybe they're learning about a topic that's not very interesting to you, right? Like maybe like spirituality, religion, and they bring these cool little insights back to you that you can gain from. That's like, hey, I won't study and research this area of life myself, but because this person I've developed has, and I have this relationship with them, they're willing to teach me, kind of give me their golden nuggets of information, right? So that's kind of the second section. And the last one I would say, how can we be like Maximus? Speak solutions, not complaints, right? So Maximus, yeah, first he's kind of like, I don't really care about this whole gladiator thing. Like, I'm not part of the team. But then right away, he starts, speaking solutions. He starts solving problems. He starts making sure that people stay alive, that he stays alive, and that they succeed. If in your workplace, in your wherever you are, if you can be someone who solves problems and creates meaningful solutions, like you have an opportunity to be loved, right? Again, recognize that people are very complex, and you might have to deal with some psychopaths who ice you out, or jealousy and envy and all the other toxic negative emotions. But regardless, like focus on who you're becoming and not about necessarily your environment, right? So if you are someone who creates meaningful solutions and solves problems, and you're iced out because of some psycho or some like jealous person, again, you're a competent person. You go somewhere else, you'll still succeed. So Maximus, it's not that he's a general that allows him to succeed with the gladiator slaves. It's that he's a competent leader, and that's what is allowing him to then also be successful with his slaves. It's also why the empire falls in love with him, right? Because he's a competent person, right? Once you've done this consistently, the fruits of your hard work will naturally arrive, right? So if you're a competent, capable leader, if you're like Maximus, leading like a Roman general, you know, all these other areas of life will start to slowly put themselves together as well, because you're taking the time to develop them. Okay, and I'll let you go with this lovely image here, quote from the film here: "What we do in life echoes in eternity." And you could sit back, whine, complain, and take life easy, and you'll reap you'll reap whatever you sow from that. Or you could actively pursue life, and you know, like Maximus, despite the fact that he died young, it's like he died well loved, and he died with success, and he made relevant, important change in his life that actually mattered. And I mean, you gotta ask yourself, what better is there to this life than having a true impact on the people around you, and on yourself, right? And from a holistic sense, I'm not talking about a holier than thou. I'm talking about like you've been there, you've done that, you know what you're talking about, and you know what your people want. Okay, that's what I'll leave you with. Thank you, and have a good day. If you like this video, drop a like, subscribe, share it with a friend, spread the word. Thank you.